Hello friends, today we're going to talk about the 10 signs of low magnesium, and in the end we'll talk about how to replace it. So let's start backwards with number 10, low vitamin D levels. No matter what you do, you just can't get your vitamin D levels up, and of course this can be a debilitating combo to then cause more health issues. Low magnesium and low vitamin D, they actually often travel together, and when they do, the effects ripple across your muscles, your nerves, your immunity, your blood sugar, your mood, and your bones. Magnesium is a quiet workhorse mineral involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those that activate your vitamin D. When your magnesium is low, vitamin D can look low on labs or fail to work properly even when intake seems adequate, and this is because magnesium is required to convert vitamin D into its active form and to move calcium into bones rather than soft tissues. Without enough magnesium, vitamin D supplementation can feel ineffective and potentially even cause side effects like muscle tightness or stiffness, which is sign number 9. You know how you just feel like you're growing old, feeling stiff, and you think it's just because you're out of shape from the lack of exercise, and sure, that's partially true, you're just simply not moving. But did you know that your muscles will be tight without magnesium? Magnesium is a mineral that allows your muscles to let go and relax. Calcium turns muscle contraction on, so calcium allows you to do this with your biceps. And magnesium is a physiological brake that turns it off, allows you to relax. And when your magnesium is low, that brake fails. So many people, they simply just lift weights all day without really understanding the ins and out at the level of the muscle fiber. You have calcium entry muscle cells, and that binds regulatory proteins that allow actin and myosin to lock together and shorten your muscles to make it tight. Now, to loosen the muscle, magnesium is required for ATP to detach the myosin and the actin after the contraction, and without enough magnesium, ATP simply cannot function properly, so the muscle remains partially locked in a contracted state while you're low. And imagine the tension you will feel when your muscles are going around like that all day long. You have about 650 muscles throughout your entire body. Do you know what you will feel like if your muscles are tight all over? Muscle pain, which is symptom number 8. This is why low magnesium can cause stiffness and pain, and when your head feels like there's a band wrapped around it, probably is your muscle. That's maybe why you're getting a tension headache. If you're sensitive to light and you have deep pain inside your head, that could be a migraine. Oftentimes you'll have an aura you can predict when it's going to come. You may see flashing lights, and then you have this massive headache that you have to lay down, be quiet, and be in the dark. Unfortunately, too many people just simply take pain medications when the cause could simply be a lack of magnesium. Magnesium deficiency is related to factors that promote headaches. That includes your neurotransmitter release and vasoconstriction of your blood vessels, and people who experience migraine headaches simply have lower levels of serum and tissue magnesium. And those who do not, now the pain won't be confined to your head. Have you ever woken up with a sore neck? Those neck muscles can affect your head, contribute more to your tension headache. But even without your tension headache, neck pain is simply a pain in the neck. So many people also have low back pain, right? Could that be because you're magnesium deficient? Your back is made worse by poor posture and by sitting all day long. And if you go down to your leg, have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a Charlie horse? That was me 2 decades ago, and that's symptom number 7, bad muscle cramps. My calf would go into a cramp in the middle of the night. It was so tender that you can't touch it, you can't even put a blanket over it. I just wanted to be left alone for it to go away, and you just don't know how to move your body to get it to relax. Cramps suck. Now I make sure I eat magnesium-rich foods, and I'll tell you some of those later. And I also supplement every day, and I'll share with you my favorite supplement. Hint, hint, it's on my table, that has magnesium at the nerve-muscle junction. Magnesium normally dampens excessive nerve firing by blocking calcium influx into nerve terminals. Hidden signs: and when magnesium is deficient, your nerves fire more easily and more often, releasing excess acetylcholine into your muscle fibers. So that means your muscle is repeatedly told to contract, 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 even when it's supposed to be at rest, leading to twitching, muscle spasm, and sustained tension. Now, magnesium also regulates calcium distribution inside cells. So when your magnesium is low, calcium accumulates inside your muscle cells instead of being pumped back into storage, and elevated intracellular calcium keeps contraction pathways active and prevents full relaxation, especially in smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. It's not just skeletal muscles that suffer. So that brings us to symptom number 6, high blood pressure. That's why I have my blood pressure meter here. This is because smooth muscles and cardiac muscles that control your blood pressure. So magnesium plays a central role in how high your blood pressure will be, because it directly governs how the blood vessels relax or contract, and your blood pressure rises when arteries stay narrow, stiff, or overreactive. Let's check my blood pressure now. Okay, remember, you're supposed to uncross your legs, sit down, put your blood pressure cuff. You can pick your right or left arm. I suggest people check both, because oftentimes it could be different. I'm going to line up the blood vessel with a little. Here mine has a little. Yours may have an arrow or some kind of marker to tell you to put it in the middle of your elbow or the antecubital fossa. And then I'm going to press start, and I'm going to have my arm the level of the heart, and I'm supposed to stop talking. All right, my blood pressure is 105/70 and 75. Now that's a normal blood pressure, but usually my blood pressure is lower, but I've been more active right now, and magnesium is one of the body's primary natural vasodilators, meaning it helps blood vessels widen and stay flexible. That's why I make sure I get my magnesium every day, because when your magnesium is low, the vascular smooth muscles, it behaves like it's stuck in a semi-contracted state that will increase resistance that drives blood pressure high, and magnesium counterbalances calcium sleep support. So if calcium causes your vascular smooth muscles to contract, that means your blood pressure goes up, your arteries tighten, and magnesium blocks that excess calcium entry into the cells, and it helps the calcium leave once contraction is no longer needed. And when your magnesium is low, the calcium signal dominates, your arteries stay constricted more easily, they don't relax as easily, and this will raise your systolic blood pressure by increasing resistance, and diastolic blood pressure by preventing full relaxation between your heartbeats. So low magnesium also increases sympathetic nervous system activity that constricts your blood vessels even more, and this is why people with low magnesium, they often have stress-sensitive or labile blood pressure that spikes with anxiety, poor sleep, and even caffeine, and over time these repeated surges, they damage the blood vessel lining, the endothelium, and that is actually responsible for the release of nitric oxide and your vascular flexibility. So this is known as a fight or flight tone that will increase not only your blood pressure but your heart rate, and that is sign number 5. Your resting heart rate is important for your long-term health. The lower it is, the better. And for most adults, a healthy resting heart rate is between 60 to 80 beats a minute, regardless of your age. Children naturally run higher, while well-conditioned adults often sit lower, and by adulthood, age alone does not need to raise resting heart rate. Your fitness, your nervous system balance, inflammation, your sleep quality, and your mental status, they all matter far more. And I haven't been walking consistently for the last week. I think that's right, my heart rate is a little higher, and if your heart rate is consistently between 80-85, that's actually associated with a higher cardiovascular and metabolic risk, while if you're calm, your resting heart rate is in the 50s to 60s. That usually reflects a good autonomic balance. If your symptoms are absent, a key point that often gets missed is that the higher the resting heart rate with age, that's not normal aging, folks. It usually reflects increased sympathetic tone, vascular stiffness, insulin resistance, low aerobic capacity, poor sleep, chronic stress, or electrolyte imbalances such as low magnesium or maybe even potassium. Many people see their resting heart rate drop over months. When your inflammation is reduced, your fitness improves, blood sugar link, and your nervous system balance is restored. Do you know where you have a ton of smooth muscles in your gut? What happens when your gut can't relax? You get constipated, which is sign number 4. Magnesium is essential for normal intestinal movement, hydration of stool, and relaxation of your gut muscles. So the colon is made largely of smooth muscles, and like all muscles, it needs a supply of magnesium to relax after it contracts. So when magnesium is low, the colon, it tends to stay tight, and then it's sluggish rather than rhythmically contracting and releasing to kind of squeeze that poop out. This slows peristalsis, the wave-like motion that moves stool forward. Now magnesium also regulates fluid balance inside your intestine. It draws and retains water within the bowel lumen. So when your magnesium levels are insufficient, more water is absorbed back into your body, leaving your stool dry, hard, and difficult to pass. This is why constipation from low magnesium often comes with straining pellet-like stools and a sense of incomplete evacuation. There's also a nerve component. Magnesium calms the enteric nervous system. That's a system that talks from the brain to the gut, and when your magnesium is low, your nerve signaling becomes erratic, and it's overly excitable, but it's poorly coordinated, and this results in a colon that contracts in the wrong places and stays clenched instead of producing a smooth, propulsive, rhythmic movement to then propel that stool out. And this pattern is especially common in people who have stress-related constipation, and I'm not done. Low magnesium further worsens constipation through its effect on your stress hormones and your insulin. Magnesium deficiency increases sympathetic nervous system tone, cortisol, both of which suppress your digestive activity, and at the same time low magnesium that promotes insulin resistance, which then alters your electrolytes and slows gut motility. And this is why constipation often clusters around anxiety, poor sleep, muscle tightness, and elevated blood pressures, as well as elevated blood sugars, which is sign number 3. If you're having a difficult time controlling your blood sugars, and you would benefit by focusing on eating magnesium-rich whole foods, not simply taking a magnesium supplement, cramps and muscles. And I'll explain why later. Magnesium is in any naturally green plant, so if you eat dark leafy greens, you're going to get magnesium, and I think that partially explains why people feel so much benefit and then clean their colon and they simply drink green vegetable juices. Now magnesium is also in beans and legumes, which are also high in resistant starch and soluble fiber. It's the best remedy to prevent constipation. So many people try to take fiber supplements that actually gets them more backed up. Fiber adds bulk, but if the colon cannot relax or hydrate the stool properly, more fiber will make your constipation even worse, and it'll cause more bloating and discomfort. And in these cases, maybe simply storing magnesium allows the gut muscles to relax, improve water movement into your stool, and then reestablishes the normal peristalsis. Now, in short, magnesium deficiency, it can cause constipation by making the colon tight instead of supple, by drying out the stool, by disrupting the nerve communication, and by shifting the body into a stress-dominant state. And until you restore that magnesium balance, the gut often remains slow no matter how healthy you think you're eating. Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food now. I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be, and I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now. And of course, stress hormones makes all this worse. Low magnesium heightens your sympathetic nervous system tone and your cortisol output. This shifts muscles into a chronic ready-to-contract state, particularly in your neck and your jaw and your pelvic floor and your calves, and over time this sustained contraction actually reduces blood flow to that body part and increases local inflammation, and it simply reinforces the tightness that you're feeling. The result is a paradox. People often notice muscles feel hard, absorption traps tight and painful, yet they're so tired, they're fatigued, and they lack strength. So that pattern, tight but weak, is classic for magnesium deficiency, and until your magnesium is restored, stretching alone will fail because the biochemical off switch for muscle relaxation is missing. I cannot emphasize how vital getting enough magnesium is in your health every day. Magnesium is one of the most important minerals for heart rhythm because heart is an electrical muscle. It's not just a pump. Every heartbeat depends on tightly controlled movement of charged particles, especially calcium, potassium, sodium, and magnesium. Magnesium simply acts as a master stabilizer of this electrical traffic. And when magnesium is low, the heart becomes electrically irritable and more prone to arrhythmia disturbances at the cellular level. Calcium initiates contraction in the heart muscle, while magnesium helps to shut that signal off and reset the cell for the next beat. But if you don't have enough magnesium, well, you're going to have excessive calcium stimulation to flood cardiac cells, prolonging depolarization and delaying repolarization. So this creates an after depolarization, which are abnormal electrical impulses that can then trigger premature beats, atrial fibrillation, supraventricular tachycardia, or other ventricular ectopic beats. And I mentioned magnesium regulates potassium. Potassium is essential for returning the heart cells to its resting electrical state after every beat, and therefore without adequate magnesium your potassium can't function properly inside cells, even if blood potassium appears normal. And this is why arrhythmias, they often persist despite normal potassium levels until magnesium is corrected, and the nervous system then compounds the problem. Low magnesium increases sympathetic tone and catecholamine release, essentially keeping the heart in a mild fight or flight state. This raises heart rate variability and stability, and lowers the threshold for palpitations, skip beats, and stress-triggered arrhythmias. Many people notice their rhythm is worsened with anxiety, poor sleep, dehydration, or illness. All states have further deplete magnesium, and clinically magnesium deficiency that's strongly associated with atrial fibrillation, frequent premature atrial contractions, best forms QT, prolongation, and medication-induced arrhythmias. Magnesium is so central that it is routinely given intravenously in hospitals for people with cardiac issues, including torsade de pointes and other dangerous arrhythmia disturbances. And that's even when serum magnesium is only low. Normal. A key reason this problem is missed is that serum magnesium represents less than 1% of your total body magnesium, so someone can have normal blood levels while cardiac intracellular magnesium are totally depleted, and hence the number one sign of low magnesium is normal serum magnesium. Isn't that ironic? The levels in your blood are simply not accurate, and so as physicians we look for clues that point us towards low magnesium that's related to your heartbeat, like arrhythmias, having muscle cramps, maybe eye twitching, constipation, anxiety, poor sleep, and palpitations, which can fluctuate with stress or with dehydration. So how much magnesium should you be taking in a day? That's not an easy question to answer, because a person running a marathon will need more magnesium than a person sitting at their desk. But if you're sitting at your desk sick fighting the flu, you're going to need more magnesium than you when you don't have that problem. Get it? Every day our physical demands for magnesium will change. So when it comes to magnesium, it's important to understand how much you need based on your physical stressors. It's really not optimal to just pass at a minimum level to sustain life. Magnesium is so vital because it is involved in over 300 different biochemical enzymes in your body just to keep you alive. So I recommend everybody shoot for an A+ when it comes to getting magnesium on a daily basis, because when you're short on magnesium you're not going to survive well, you just won't feel good. So this must mean that there is a magnesium reserve, and I had mentioned it's in your bone, and hence this is why serum magnesium levels are difficult to interpret. Most of the magnesium is not in your bloodstream, it's in your tissue and your bone. So when you're low in magnesium it draws from your bone, and I'll keep doing that until one day you wake up with soft bones and that fracture. And we assume that when you get soft bones you'll get fractured when you fall, and in America we have medications to treat bone loss, dosage and safety, but unfortunately they increase spontaneous fracture risk. Does that sound like it's safe to do? I would rather fill my magnesium bucket with whole food to prevent fractures, since if that's a root cause, the root cause needs to be treated. The fact of the matter is half of Americans do not eat enough magnesium in their daily diet, and the people who are at highest risk are those with gastrointestinal disease, those with diabetes or insulin resistance, those drinking alcohol, and those who are simply older. For most adults, a baseline daily magnesium requirement is somewhere between 310 and 320 milligrams per day for adult women, and about 400-420 milligrams per day for adult men from all sources combined, meaning your food plus your supplement. Now, these numbers reflect the minimum needed to prevent deficiency, not necessarily the optimal amount for a person, depending on their physical stress. For all your body, your muscles, your nerve, your heart, your metabolism, physical activity, of course, significantly increases your demand for magnesium. That's because your muscles need to contract and relax, and magnesium is consumed every time your muscles contract, because like I said, it needs to relax, it needs to also be able to generate ATP to help relax, and it needs to regulate electrolytes that you can lose through your sweat, so even moderate exercise will increase magnesium turnover. While intense and prolonged activity, you can substantially raise your daily requirements, your daily needs. So as a practical adjustment, light activity such as walking or casual exercise, you may need an additional 25 to 50 milligrams of magnesium a day, and moderate regular training can often push that to 50 to 100 milligrams a day. And then if you do heavy training, endurance training, sweating heavily, that can all increase another 100-200 milligrams a day or more, depending on your load. And stress load matters as much as the way you exercise. High-intensity workouts combined with poor sleep, calorie restriction, psychological stress accelerates magnesium loss through your urine, and then worsens intracellular depletion. And this is why physically active people, they may experience cramps, tight muscles, palpitations, constipation, or poor recovery, even when they think that technically their magnesium intake is accurate. Personally, I don't take any chances. Food sources, I do a low-dose supplement every day just to make sure that I'm popping off my magnesium requirements, and that's exactly why I put magnesium in my supplement. Just a low dose, I just simply take this every day, but this isn't the foundation of my daily magnesium supply. Food-based magnesium is number one, and that's the foundation for me. It's generally safer and more stable, so I don't overdose. I mean, technically speaking, you can OD on anything, right? Magnesium-rich foods include leafy greens, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and even cacao, and this is why I make a high-protein, high-bean nut bar for my family to eat. It's also high in magnesium, that's what I assume, because I buy the best quality ingredients, but I still wonder how much magnesium is actually in those raw ingredients. Because of modern soil depletion, it really makes it difficult for people to consistently reach higher magnesium levels with just food alone, and honestly, I don't know what else my family is eating. They, I assume, don't eat enough of magnesium-rich products, and I don't want them to miss out. That's why I encourage my family to take my supplement to close the gap, especially because I have kids, they're very active in school, they're walking around, they're playing, and I don't want them to be deficient. I just know so many people who want life to be like the Jetsons. They don't want to put effort, they just want a pill to come into their palm instead of eating actually whole foods. But the thing is, you have 24 hours in a day. It's important to spread out your nutrients, spread out your foods. If you take your supplement for breakfast, you may run out at nighttime, and of course it's not good to overdo anything in life, including magnesium, but really tolerance depends on how well you're spreading your intake outro throughout the day instead of doing it all at once, right? So if you do too much magnesium all at once, you can get toxic, and on the lower end of toxicity is having diarrhea, abdominal cramping, and nausea. But hopefully just that will stop you from taking too much, because magnesium can actually cause arrhythmias and difficult breathing, and that's not something that anybody should be doing. The upper safe limit of magnesium supplementation for adults is around 350 milligrams, and remember how I said supplementation probably won't be enough to fix your blood sugar problems. Well, if you want to learn more about that, watch the next video.